Hey y'all, this video is a session with me working with Wells. We are working on going from A to B, so I have some little stationary targets that he understands that if he walks towards, when I cue him to go to target, or sometimes when I don't, that he gets reward. And I'm working between some jump standards and working on him going over poles at Liberty. So I have no lead rope attached. He is kind of funny in that if he has a choice, he'll usually walk around a pole, even if it's just flat on the ground. But in hand, he will willingly walk and follow a target over poles and jumps and larger things. So I just wanted to do this session to really reward him doing it with a little bit more autonomy, to give him choice, but also really reinforce him doing it at Liberty to kind of build his confidence over poles. And with Wells, sometimes I kind of have to start leading him towards the target, so he knows where I want him to go. And sometimes I also have to pick the target up and kind of move it around. They're yellow, which is a decent color for horses to see, but they sit kind of low, and sometimes if the grass is a little uneven, they can't see them super well. There's also grass on the ground, so he's fairly motivated to eat the grass. So now I'm trying to lead him back. And I've got the poles kind of set up almost like an alleyway to kind of encourage him to stay and walk between the standards. And here I'm just placing a pole on the ground, presenting the target. And he is taking his sweet time, which is fine. That's kind of what this session is for. Sometimes I get a little too involved and over encourage, and when I'm doing a session at Liberty, really focusing on the horse having some choice, it's good for me to be able to be patient. I'm not always super patient, and let him make that decision. I did walk up to him and ask for a head up cue to see if I could redirect his attention back over to the target. And he's looking away. And this is just a pole flat on the ground. So he clearly has some lack of confidence or something going on where he doesn't just want to willingly walk over. And part of that is why it's so important to work on it like this, with like pretty low stakes, pretty low pressure. What's funny is he, of his own accord, stepped over a log that we have just like a little bit behind him earlier in, I wasn't even working with him, just on his own. So it's just interesting why there's hesitation on this pole, and we don't always understand those things. It could be the color, it could be a weird shadow, he could have had a bad experience with poles. It's really hard to say. So we got a step, I think it's over the pole. When I'm recording this voiceover, the recording notification is right over the bottom center of my screen, so I can't see exactly where his feet are. But yeah, he did what I asked, and now I'm asking him to go back to A, and he decides to go around the standard. And so I decided to just let this go and focus on him mostly going over just the one direction, and then if he wants to reset by going around the standard, That's fine for now. I can always raise the criteria later, and here he goes right over the pole, no problem. And here I'm trying to use my body language to encourage him to go between the standards, but again, he goes around, which is fine. Just funny. He's a funny horse. I try to stay really playful during this session too. I find that that really helps kind of keep it lighthearted, keep me focused, keep them engaged. And I think that they tend to engage a little bit more when you can kind of smile and laugh your way through. I'm not always able to do that, especially when I'm recording, because I usually have a goal in mind, which can make it really challenging. And here I'm trying to have him go to the target without it also being towards me, which he did, and that was great. And then I put one side of the pole up on like a little, I can't tell if that's on the jump cup or it's on, there's like a little brick, but it's just a few inches off the ground on one side. And this time he came over the pole this way, I think. So he got a reward, and I'm moving the target a little bit to make it a little easier for him to find. And I was hoping he would just go over without me having to kind of lead him. But again, he's going to stop and eat. And sometimes that can be a little bit of a displacement of like, he doesn't feel comfortable going over the pole yet, but then he went right over. This time of year, they're still pretty interested in the grass in this field because horses aren't out here all the time, so there's still some like decent stuff out here, so sometimes it's hard to keep their attention. And so here I'm kind of using my body to block him going around. And he goes back to the other target. So it's just interesting to notice that he's more willing to go over the pole the one direction than the other. So he goes around, which I think is funny. And I'm asking him to target again. It's a pretty windy day. I can't really hear my voice cues. So we went over it fine like that, and I'm going to raise the other side. So it's still pretty low. He goes around, which again is fine. At some point, I'm not sure if I raise the criteria and stop clicking if he goes around or not. But that is a thing I can do, is I can choose to not click when he gets back to the starting target if he hasn't also gone through the standards. So that's something that I could, if I'm gonna do that, I should probably go back and reinforce him just walking between the standards without a pole there before raising that criteria all of a sudden. I'll still probably ask him to go between the standards on his way back to the starting target. So I'm kind of leading him with my body, but also he knows to go to the target. Walked right over it, no problem. Having that little bit of autonomy is helping to build his confidence through this, because it's less hesitation as it's, getting a little bigger. And there, I got him to go between the standards. And it's just interesting to notice how hesitant he was in the beginning, and now he's moving with a little bit more confidence. And every couple of turns, I'm raising it up ever so slightly. It's still really low, within inches. I mean, it's maybe 6 inches off the ground here on both sides. I think, like I said, I can't quite see that jump with where my little recording block is here on my screen as I'm doing this voiceover, but there, I asked for another head up cue to try to regain his attention. And I'm using my body to kind of lead him a little bit more. Walked right over to help keep his attention. If I had a sand arena, I'd probably have to do less of that. But that was so great. He just walked right over, and that was the highest it had been. He gets a big hug and a good boy and some extra food. And that was our little Liberty session.